Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. There's another paid request, this time for Richard. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, topics, reactions, randomness, out of the blueness, wherever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And if you're wondering about a certain noise, I am not alone here. So if you wonder what that background noise is. Now, Richard wanted me to look into the whole Kimba the White Lion King controversy. More importantly, the YMS video. Now, YMS... Yes? I guess for some reason I say that and she got a bit intrigued by what I was going to say. As I was saying... Okay, says you want to be on camera, there you go. Like I was saying, YMS is a YouTube channel called Your Movie Sucks. And he did a video about 2.5 hours, very well researched, very well edited, I gotta admit. And he did a great job. To be fair, he did a great job. Saying that no, the Lion King did not rip off Kimba the White Lion. And maybe there could be some little similarities, but they're threadbare, they're, as we call, anorexic, paper thin, and that you could make the argument that, yes, they did not know anything about this and still made this because Kimba the White Lion was a manga from 1950, and then it was a show, actually a variety of shows since 1965. At least 3, 4, 5 different shows. And that a lot of people on YouTube, when they made the direct comparisons, they were using the 1997 film of Kimba the White Lion, which they based on the manga and the older stuff, and then they took stuff from the Lion King. Now, before I get on to that, I don't really have a big dog in this fight. I like the Lion King from 1994. It's a good movie. It's not a film I rewatch over and over again, but I've seen it a couple times. I like it. The whole Kimba stuff, I maybe have referenced it maybe 3 times at most. I think one time was on the last stream I did with my friend Michael CP, and I don't even remember if I brought it up or he brought it up. And someone even wrote, well, that's from the 1997 film. And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I know there was a 1997 film. And the people that used that in their arguments were really fucking stupid. I knew that there was an older manga and there was an older show, and that's what I was thinking of. When again, maybe 2 or 3 times. I never did a video on it, never referenced it and whatever. But yeah, the people that have all these videos and they use the 1997 footage are completely stupid. Completely dumb. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. Maybe they thought it would be like these Jackie Chan films where a lot of times there'll be the date of how it came out in the US, but that film actually came out years before in Hong Kong. Like Rumble in the Bronx. In the US came out in 95, but it was made before that. Operation Condor and other stuff. Even Armored God. They were out years ago in Hong Kong. Maybe they thought it was one of those movies, but they didn't do the research. Now the thing, before I get into this, the whole rip-off thing, a lot of people say rip-off because they either want to get pissy or just because it's a throwaway line that we've all said. I mean, hell, how many people have said Alien ripped off It, the Terror from Beyond Space and Planet of the Vampires? Or this film that I love. These people say, hey, this is a rip-off of Alien and John Carpenter's The Thing. Even though you look at it and there's similar ideas, but there's also very different characters. The monster is different location, underwater base, the whole underwater aesthetic. There are differences, but there are people that call it a ripoff. How many people call Jason Goes to Hell a ripoff of The Hidden? Yeah, there's a thing that jumps from body to body. But if you look at the story between Jason Goes to Hell and The Hidden, the stories are very different. The reason it's happening is very different. One's an alien from outer space. The other is this cursed demon thing. John D. LeMay is a very different character compared to, say, Kyle MacLachlan. There's different dialogue. There's different ending. There's a different, whole lot of differences. So when people say it's a ripoff, is that really fair to say? You keep going with that. I mean, with the whole ripoff. I remember seeing a film called Nemesis with Oliver Gruner. That's the same shot of him shooting through the floor, through multiple floors. I'm like, that's what weird. Because in Underworld, she does the same thing, shooting through the floor, going through multiple floors. Like, wow, that was almost like the same scene. And the thing is, you don't ever know for certain. It could be one of two camps. One, people think alike. It happens more often than you think. The director, Jason Goes to Hell, says he never saw The Hidden. People say, oh, I don't buy it. Well, James Gunn, when he did Slither, people said the same thing. Oh, you ripped off Night of the Creeps. And James Gunn goes, I never saw Night of the Creeps. And it depends on the viewer, on the individual. Do you believe them? Do you not? Same with this. You could believe that they never saw Kimba, didn't know anything about it, and this was a lot of coincidence. Or you can think, hey, maybe they did and they're lying. Because it's Hollywood. It's hard for me to trust anybody, because I'm cynical. Trust no one. Chapter 1, page 1 of the Jack Kane manual. But, yeah, if you actually looked at Kimba the White Lion, you looked at the story, it's very different from The Lion King. Because The Lion King is based on Hamlet. That's the thing. The Lion King story is based really on Hamlet, and then some of the little attributes, little bits here and there. If someone's going to say it's 100% plagiarism, one for one, they're wrong. And again, YMS did a wonderful job. It's a lot of heavy research, very well edited. I don't know if it needed to be 2.5 hours long, but he did a great job with it, to be fair. And if you looked at the story of Kimba, yeah, there is a cub whose dad dies. There's cliffs and other stuff involved, but they have very different journeys. I mean, you look at Kimba, there's stories of a lot of blackface. There's stories of, at one point, they want to be human, so they try to dress to be more human. There is a warthog, but the warthog in here is a very different character who has a pain fetish, which is very weird. Oh, don't spank him. How about you spank me? There's this really creepy, weird bit that Kimba, when his dad's dead, his hide is there, and he will use his hide, which has his dad's face, so it's like his dead body. It's like Weekend at Bernie's, Kimba style. Bernie, it's just, it's almost like Weekend at Bernie's, using in running around, or he's sleeping in it, or he's talking to it. So it's Weekend at Bernie's meets, I don't know, American Psycho or some shit. You know, the end of, I don't know. Did it happen? I mean, it's in his mind. He's a psycho. So Kimba's much more psychotic, but I will be honest, it kind of made me really want to watch Kimba more than The Lion King, to be honest. Maybe wow, this Kimba the White Lion is more fucked up, more crazy than The Lion King. Definitely watch that more than the 2019 piece of shit Lion King movie. But, I mean, he does make a good argument that, yeah, this could have been all. But you can make the argument with every movie, or almost every movie that is called a ripoff of any sort. You could make that argument of maybe they didn't know anything about it, and it's very much. I mean, what happens at the end of every movie when you look at the credits? All characters, living or dead. If there's any similarity, is purely coincidental. Yes, that can happen at any point. The fact that, well, why is one called Kimba and one's called Simba? Well, the original idea, the original name is Leo, actually, not Kimba. And then when it's Americanized, in the States, it was going to be Simba, because Swahili, lion in Swahili is Simba. And Simba is a common name. I mean, there's old films called Simba the Lion, So that could be a typical name. So it was going to be called Simba, but the cartoon... Stop. The cartoon didn't think it was... The guy who tried to Americanize it thought he had a guy who was part of the company. He said, oh, Simba's not marketable, but Kimba is. I don't know how the hell that made sense, but whatever. It's a lot of Hollywood that doesn't make sense. But, that's why Kimba and Simba are similar. It's a name that anybody could have used. Then he went into Tezuka, the main guy from 1950, which was called Jungle Emperor, and then 1965 there was a cartoon, and then there was a variety of other cartoon shows. Like I said, yes, there's a warhog in each, but the warhog is a very small part of the original. He has this weird pain fetish. Again, Kimba likes to wear his dad's fur to inspire. At one point he wants to wear clothes to be human. At one point, elephants beat the shit out of Kimba, and then somehow led to a bunch of tanks shooting and giving an elephant genocide, and a whole damn canyon came down and exterminated all the elephants. I'm like, holy shit, I gotta go see fucking Kimba. This is some batshit crazy stuff. And the point is that there's like over 3,000 minutes of footage of the shows. So when you're basing and trying to do a plagiarism comparison, you're comparing a 90, 100-minute movie to something that has 3,000 minutes. You could pick, and both take place in Africa. You could pick anything you want, and you could create your own structure that, oh, it's a plagiarism. And it's like, that's not really a fair comparison, because there's 3,000 minutes. You could pick, they did anything they could in Africa. And they go, yeah, there's a romantic interest, but it was done differently. Yeah, they both ruled, but they had very different journeys. Yeah, they saw dead parents, but it was done in different ways. And on the original Kimba, he saw a lot of different dead things. There's like 20 examples of him seeing dead things in different situations. Whether seeing his dead mom or someone else saw them. And also the whole seeing dead parents, since it was an ode to Hamlet, you would see the dead because that's part of the story of Hamlet. And yes, there is a villain named Claw with a scar, but I guess the original idea of the Lion King scar wasn't supposed to have a scar, and he was supposed to be King of the Baboons, but then it was changed. But then I'm going, well, doesn't that make it even more better for the Kimba argument? That, wait a minute, why was it changed to a guy with a scar on the same side? Why was it that he was given henchmen, the hyenas, instead of being the King of the Baboons like the original idea? Wouldn't that give more of the argument to the Kimba being ripped off argument? But like the show on the cliffs, there's cliffs and like 50 conflicts in the Kimba. So yeah, you could make your own easy argument, and pretty much going, yes, there is, because of story structure, because of the story structure of Hamlet, because of, there's so many minutes, there's a lot of coincidences that could happen. It could very easily be the case. And he goes through it all. He goes through, there's a 1991 Kimba movie, there was a 1997 one, which again, I don't know why anyone would use that. And YMS is correct on that. Why anyone would use that for their argument is just them being an idiot, being a fucking moron. But again, it goes to the fact that how much or how little do you call some of the ripoff? How many times did people say Avatar was a ripoff of Dancing with Wolves or Ferngully? Now, is it beat for beat and could it be coincidence? Absolutely. But people say that, I think a lot of times people say that not as a serious argument, but it's just a snide remark like I've done and you've done. But I think this is more to the people who are very hardcore at making these videos about Disney sucks. I hate Disney nowadays. They can suck my dick and my balls. But again, YMS is making a good argument. But I think you'd also make a good counter argument. Well, not good, because I'm not good at that stuff. I'm small potatoes. But as this goes along, and I will go further along, you'd always make the argument that, yes, it could be that way. That could be absolutely coincidental, and It could be anorexia thin, the comparisons. Again, you looked at the story, the actual story, they're very different stories. But at the same time, I could also see this coming about. Because as the 2.5 hours went on, he mentioned how, Michael Eisner claimed none of the animators even heard of Kimba. That was really fucking stupid. I think that made a lot of alarms in people's minds, and I don't think it was much of a false alarm. It was way that nobody ever heard of it, not even the animators. And then even Matthew Broderick said in an interview, "Oh, when I got the job, I thought it was, Kimba, this show I watched." I don't know why he said Australian show. This is not. But I don't know, maybe depending on where he saw it. I don't know, where did he saw it? Was he in Australia when he saw it? I don't know how he grew up. I don't know his backstory. Was there a point he visited Australia? Or he just remembered wrong? And people mention, oh, there's a bird. Yeah, there's a bird named Polly, but he's a friend of Kimba, but he's different from Zazu, because Zazu's a royal assistant. And yes, there is a mandrill, a baboon, but in the original it was an angry one, while in the Lion King it was a witch doctor. Yes, people argue that, well, this guy, he was in Japan at one point. Yeah, but the director was in Japan in 1985, but this one show where some of this stuff happened was in 1989. At that point, he defends Jeffrey Katzenberg, where Katzenberg said he came with the idea. But to be honest, because of Jeffrey Katzenberg, that would give me even more warning bells that there could be some rip-off bullshit going on. And that's the thing, is that I appreciate what YMS did. He did a good job. It was well-researched, well-edited. I'll get more into it than that. My thought process on it is, number one, I don't trust anybody. I'm not talking about YMS. I'm talking about Hollywood. And I can also make the other hypothesis in the other direction. This is 2.5 hour video. It's about, this could be very coincidental, and it's based on story structure and past stories, and Hamlet with the dead parents seeing it. Villains, a lot of villains have scars in their eyes. There's been a big history of the past of villains with scars on their eyes. That's all true. But here's the thing, I can make the hypothesis of maybe sometime in the early 90s, how did a lot of people see stuff from overseas without the internet? VHS tapes. Not just actual taped VHS tapes. A lot of people saw Jackie Chan movies. A lot of people saw John Woo movies. A lot of people saw Hong Kong movies in that way before they officially got released. Whether it's called a bootleg, a copy, whatever it may be. So it could be, maybe one day, they remembered, or they saw some of this stuff. Go, maybe that could be a good idea. I'll change it so that you don't get sued. But hey, they could be inspired by it. I guess I was good. There's also the big argument that you can make that there's inspiration from Kimba, and there was never any recognition of being inspired, and they could have lied about that as well. It wouldn't be the last time, if that was the case, it would not be the last time Jeffrey Katzenberg did that shit, because a few years later, Jeffrey Katzenberg left, got fired, however you want to put it. Where did he go? DreamWorks. What was a DreamWorks film? One of the first? Ants. And that was another controversy, remember that? Where people at Disney were going, like Michael Eisner and the Pixar director of A Bug's Life, wait a minute, what the hell? We're doing a Bug animated movie. Now you're doing a Bug animated movie at the same time we're doing, and you don't try to get your out first? And then there's, well, did Katzenberg come up with the idea, and because he got pissed off or he got fired or whatever, he's like, screw this, I'm going over here, I'm taking this idea and we're going to make our movie? Or did he steal the idea, but you change it enough, because you watch Ants and A Bug's Life, they're very different films. They are very different movies. Like Ants in a Bug's Life, I mean, one has a lead character played by Woody Allen in Ants. And the character in A Bug's Life is nothing like Woody Allen. And you look at it and you just see some similarities, but there's also a lot of differences, so thus there was never a plagiarism. I don't think there was a loss, maybe there would, but that's what I mean. People just say, oh, one ripped off the other, but you don't know for certain, it wasn't one for one, and all that jazz. My point is, with all this stuff going on, and then it happens again with Jeffrey Katzenberg, did he come up with the idea, and then he took it for his own, or did they take it from him? The Ants of Bug's Life thing, and that was Jeffrey Katzenberg, in the middle of that, makes you go, I don't really buy into Jeffrey Katzenberg 100% on what the fuck he says. Isn't he also the same guy that said, I wouldn't know Molly Ringwald unless she sat on my face? I swear there was a quote from Jeffrey Katzenberg, like someone said that, I wouldn't know who's Molly Ringwald? I wouldn't know her or I wouldn't recognize her. I think I wouldn't recognize her unless she sat on my face. Hey, I would like Molly Ringwald to sit on my face too, but I'm not going to. Well, I did say it, so at least I'm honest about it. So it could be, a lion, a cub, who reigns over a valley, and then I don't know, maybe you had only 3 or 4 or 5 episodes, and they're watching it, and you write stuff down. You go, lion, cub, rules the valley. His dad dies. Cool. Nah, I don't want to go with him. Oh shit, the guy's dead. Dad is corpse, and he's running around with it. I ain't doing that shit. Okay, there's that. Oh, this episode. Oh, that episode. Wow, that lion is dark furred and has a thing on his eye. Oh, that's cool. Oh, but that's what the character is? Now, let's change that character. That design I like. I like that design, but we'll change this other shit. What are the animals that's with Kimba? Or Leo, whatever. Okay, I don't want that. Oh, bird. But that bird's annoying. Well, I'd keep the bird. Just won't make them that. We'll make them this. Oh, there's a baboon. Yeah, it'd be just the angry baboon. You know what? We'll keep that baboon. We'll keep the mandrill. And he'll be close to the lead. But let's make him a witch doctor instead. Cliff. You know, this Cliff stuff's pretty cool. You know, maybe that, hey, there's a bit of love story. Yeah, we'll put that in there as well. That could have easily been the case, too. Same with animators. Lion stuff. Either they watch it or they remember it, and maybe they don't even realize it. I've done that before. I remember for the longest time, and I thought I dreamed it, where I had this image of this family being killed, and this little kid being killed with bow and arrows. I thought, ooh, what the fuck is this? And then for years, I thought it was something I made up, and then I didn't find out till 10, 15 years later, there was from Revenge of the Ninja, and that I had seen Revenge of the Ninja on TV, and that image got stuck in my head, but I didn't remember what the fuck the movie was. I didn't even remember if this existed, or it's a weird fever dream. And so I didn't realize that until, oh yeah, that's what it's from. That could be a subliminal thing from a lot of animators too. Subliminally thinking this and that. And then that goes into, well, maybe that happens a lot more often in movies than we think. A lot more often in media than we think. A lot more often in any part of animation, filmmaking than we think. So yeah, very much it could be the case that this was all innocent. It wasn't a big conspiracy. And that because there's a lot of story narratives that are drawn from the past, villains with stars, and based on Hamlet, thus why. Yes, I do think it's a bit weird that in 1991 you do have an image of a line figure in clouds, just like in this, but you could say it's coincidence as well. My point is, how many coincidences does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? How many coincidences does it make before you go, maybe there's something to it. Yes, the stories are very different. Yes, there's 3,000 minutes of stuff comparing to 90 minutes, and that's not a fair comparison. I'm just saying the fact that no one, Disney can say that I knew nothing about it. It's one thing if it was one, it's one thing if it was two, it's one thing if it was four, but when you have all these little dots, you put them together, you get Kimba. It's like, I get what he's going for. I will keep harping the fact it's very well researched, it's very well edited, it's a good video, it's worth a watch. And if it's me, fine, I will not call Lion King a ripoff of Kimba ever again. I'm sorry, I apologize, I was wrong for saying it. I'm saying, though, that there's a part of my brain, it's like the truck that turns, ready to back up and hit the ditch. And what's that ditch? It's a dead body. And it's whoever told about Disney, yeah, they did rip it off, and Jeffrey Katzenberg murdered him and dumped him in the ditch. There is a lot of things that still come up, like, for example, when that 1997 film came out in the Toronto Fantasia Film Festival, Jungle Emperor, Disney sent a cease and desist letter. It's like, you thought it was so similar to yours that you want a cease and desist letter. Maybe there's a little bit more going on with why does it seem so familiar? Same with Matthew Broderick. I don't know why YMS kept going on about, well, he didn't write the film. Same with Roy Disney. Roy Disney had an email, and in the email it mentioned Kimba about this parent thing, and in the email it mentioned Kimba. But then YMS, well, Roy Disney didn't write the film, and then same with Matthew Broderick. Well, yeah, remind me of this Kimba. Well, he didn't write the film. No one's saying Roy Disney and Matthew Broderick wrote the film. The point is that if Roy Disney probably at least once or twice talked with people like Jeffrey Katzenberg and others. If they maybe mentioned Kimba, or they thought of Kimba, or they say, hey, here's the thing at Kimba, but just don't say anything about it. Okay. She's sitting over there. I thought she wanted out. Sorry. Got my own Lion King here. Queen, whatever you want to call it. Being loud like usual. But yeah, they stay. And sorry about that. But yeah, I'll let her out. So she can eat. I know I should edit this, but well. That way she can eat and get some water. Alright, go ahead, go. Screw it. I'm not much of an editor. And not much of a content creator. At least I admit that. Bottom of the barrel is what I am. But what I was getting at is, yeah, maybe these guys, no, they didn't write the script, but when they see something and it reminds them of something, why does it remind them? It's weird that all of this stuff is on the same project. Wow, this guy just happens to call this character Kimba. Wow, this one early promotional video just happens to have a white cub, which then they changed later. But if you watch an early promotional video showing still pictures, one of them is a white cub. And then Roy Disney saying Kimba. Matthew Broderick saying this. I'm just saying that's a lot of fucking coincidences. And no, they didn't write the script, but if Roy Disney's thinking of Kimba, and yeah, maybe it was an honest mistake, maybe it wasn't. Matthew Broderick thought of Kimba. Granted, he thought it was an Australian show, I don't know why. Mistake? Maybe it wasn't. And no, Matthew Broderick didn't write the script, but if he read it, and he's looked at the story, he'd go, this seems familiar, this story. I would assume Matthew Broderick read the script first before taking the role. That's not always the case, to be fair. It's not always the case. Sometimes actors take roles and they don't read it. But I would assume maybe someone like Matthew Broderick, but there's always assumption. Again, it's all about assumption. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But you have the hypothesis that possibly he read the script and said, wow, this seems familiar. Are you sure this guy shouldn't be called Kimba? Because it reminds me of the show I watched. Why does it remind him of it? Hell, for all I know, did he read an early script and then script changes? Were there script changes? How many script changes there were? Again, there's an early, not even animated, but still picture of a white cub. But again, YMS does mention that. But I'm just saying, people could have thought of this or been inspired by it or write it and just lie or don't mention it or change this, change that. And again, if the villain was originally a guy with no scar and did not have hyena henchmen, it could have been one of those things that in the middle of it, they did another tape, they pop it in, they go, well, this guy has dark fur, and that scar on his eye looks kind of cool, and the hyena, that actually kind of seems cooler to have hyena. Now, granted, in the show, they're greasers. I don't want to be, 50s greasers. Is the word, is the word, is the motion. Nah, change that shit. That could have easily been the case as well. Idea, if Jeffrey Kasper did steal the idea for the ants to do his ant film, he didn't do it verbatim. He did his own story, but it was still inspired, ripped off. How the hell word you want to use it? What phrase you want to use in it? Scar, and one's called Claw. Let's see. What the hell, yeah, I'm not going to defend Jeffrey Katzenberg. I wouldn't know Molly Ringwald if she sat on my face. Again, I swear his first project in DreamWorks was Ants, which had controversy because of that. And yeah, it's one of those things where I still think you can make the case for either one. And I'll be right back again, because she already ate. It actually makes sense with this video, of course. Alright, come on. It would make sense in this video, it would be the case with this. So I was saying, it makes it... Yeah, go ahead. Come on, leap. There you go. Psst. So what do you think? Did Kimba and the Lion King, did Lion King rip off Kimba? Yes or no? Yes or no? I think our answer is, I don't give a shit. I think nowadays, even the son of Tezuka, he said, listen, I don't care about this controversy, just let it go. It's kind of detrimental to my father's legacy because it should be able to stand on its own. So, at this point, it's pretty much water under the bridge. No one really brings it up or talks about it anymore. And if people do, they just go, just watch the YMS video. Very detailed. Go into all the different stories. Even one of the other shows of Kimba, where Kimba is a lot older of a character, and he's much more of a dickhead, and treats his son like dog shit. And there's like a blind tribesman who's like throwing grenades. And that one, that was, I think, maybe the second series, some pretty fucked up shit. Weird shit. Like, the main character in that is completely utter fucking douchebag. So Dan, now that people saw this video, no one really talks about that Lion King ripped off Kimba. That's pretty much dead and buried because of it. Because, like I say, he does make a great case that a lot of this could be coincidence. And I'm not going to reiterate every single bit that he said because you should go watch his video. But I will say, there's always two sides. And I don't know why, for some reason, I like to look at the other side of the coin. To repeat, there's always the idea that in some way, shape, or form, they could have gotten bootleg VHS tapes. They could have looked at it and said, you know what? I've been thinking of this idea, Africa, a lion. Oh, something did that? What was that about? Oh, what is this manga? What is these VHS tapes? Pick ideas. Change the story, yes. Don't do stuff that would not work in a movie in the U.S., like your lead character wearing the skin of their father. Let's put in the idea of Hamlet, work around that. It just, to me, there's still a lot of little details that really add up, and it just makes you go, well, how many little dots of coincidence does it make before you go, And at the very least, they could have said, yeah, there's a little, it's a different story. If you watch it, this is what Kimba's about. But, a little bit here and there maybe for influence. And yeah, to repeat, it could absolutely be the opposite. It could absolutely be coincidental. Again, the stuff I said at the beginning. James Gunn said any similarities to Night of the Creeps was purely coincidental when he did Slither. Adam Marcus said any coincidences to Jason Goes to Hell was just that, coincidental compared to The Hidden. That could very well be the case. But there'll still be people calling them rip-offs for one reason or another. And I think, there's still going to be a section of people that will look into that and will feel that way. And they listen to, well, how and what makes something a true rip-off when everything's been done in every way, shape, or form. Everything's been done. So again, what makes something a rip-off and not? I know it's a weird question, but back to the day of Alien. Oh, a creature going through the air ducts like It, the Terror from Beyond Space. And then some of the environment looked like Planet of the Vampires. And then elements of Daniel Bannon worked on a previous film called Dark Star. Is an Alien just a rip-off of that? And really, whether it's a rip-off or not, it comes to how is the film in its completed form. Alien is still a classic, whether inspired by stuff or not. I still love Leviathan, whether it's inspired by The Thing or Alien or whatnot. Inspired, sure, but still a damn good movie. I still like Jason Goes to Hell. I still like The Hidden. I still like Slither. Still like Night of the Creeps. I still like The Lion King. I still think it's a well-done movie. A great addition is the music, is the songs. Beautifully animated. Good voice work, especially James Earl Jones. And, I mean, this guy wanted to do this video because Lion King was like the fourth, at one point, his fourth favorite film of all time. And some could say, oh, he cares about the Lion King too much, just like I care about Aliens, too much. But he did his work, he did his job. It was I just always looked at the mirror image, where I don't trust these Hollywood guys, and I'm very cynical on them. And there could have very well been the opposite. It could be coincidental, but it could be, I saw little bits here and there. I got this bit, this bit, this bit, change everything else in the middle. It's like, let's say I write, I'll go at the end here. Idea, 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 idea. I do idea, idea in my shitty writing. This is me being not paying attention, Ryan, just going off the cuff. Between these ideas, a lot of our original shit, or original, there's a lot more in between of original stuff. That still doesn't mean some ideas were not took and maybe changed so that you don't get sued or so that you don't get into issues and troubles, and just in case, save our ass. An operation called Save Ass. My point is you could also make the case on the other side as well. You can make the case of the one side, but I think you can make as much of a case on the other side as well. And then you look at all the little coincidences. I think there's something more to it there. Maybe people say that's conspiracy theory. I think it's better than, but the world is flat. And I think you would never know the absolute truth, because a lot of people's not going to be honest about Disney and one of the biggest films out there. So, like I said, you can make the case that it's absolutely 100% coincidental and they thought of it themselves. And again, it's weird they call it an original story, because even then it's based on Hamlet. And then even then I think, in my personal opinion, I think some of them, including Jeffrey Katzenberg, knew about Kimba the White Lion. They just went, you know what, we're not going to have the blackface. We're not going to have them dress up like humans. We're not going to have an elephant fucking genocide. But you know what, that idea, that image of cloud in the sky looking like your dad, that's kind of cool. And you know what, that villain, who's not even a major villain in the show, Kimba. That's the thing. The dark-haired lion with the star on his eye wasn't even a main villain. So it's like, okay, that's not a main villain, so we'll be a bit safer. But that bit there, that looks kind of cool. We're not going to take the main villain, so we won't be so obvious, but we'll take that little bit there, because that seems cool. And that bit there, that seems cool. And what are you doing, White Lion? No white lions in this, none. And okay, he's got a henchman with a hyena. They didn't use African wolves or anything else. They used hyenas with that. And yeah, I get, with so many episodes, if they used something else, you could have compared it to something else. I get that. But I'm just saying, I don't know, there's a bit more. I'm just saying, if one day down the road there's some kind of surprise that's let out about the truth about that film, if there never is, cool. Like I said, I have no dog in the fight. If there ever is, though, I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. So again, Richard, I hope that was okay. I didn't know how deep you wanted me to get into the... Because he didn't want me to do a reaction. I didn't just want to repeat every single thing he said, but... I just really, that's going to be up to you, the viewer, as to how little, how much. Obviously, it would be little, but even that little bits, people get inspired by films all the time. I mean, I just rewatched the film The Void, and I just see there's little bits of a saw in Precinct 13 and Prince of Darkness and then The Mouth of Madness. So, as a throwaway line, you say, "Oh, this is a ripoff," and that's up to you and how you view the term ripoff. And I'm not saying there should be lawsuits. Although I think, what was it that John Carpenter did the lawsuit? Was it Lockout with Guy Pearce? Saying there was a ripoff of Steve New York. And I think John Carpenter won the lawsuit. And I mean, Lockout, number one, is not that good of a movie. But number two, you say there are differences, like one's in space, and it's not the president, it's the daughter, and the villain's not the same, and it's not like the villain's not like Isaac Hayes, and the agencies are not the same, and the ending is about them ready to blow up the thing and they gotta get out of there. It's not like in a Stephen New York they gotta blow up the city and they gotta race against time before the city gets blown up. It's not like that. So even Lockout is not a one-for-one remake verbatim of Stephen New York. But I guess there was enough little dots there that John Carpenter tried and they were successful. He was successful. But not many people are willing to do that. So, who knows? It's all a weird thing that because you're dealing with Hollywood types, you're never going to know the full story. And like I said, now that this is kind of buried under the radar, no one's really going to want to get into it, so I just still do not put into the notion that could Disney be innocent in it? Yes. But because of their practices in the past and the future, same with Jeffrey Katzenberg, that doesn't hold all the water. Doesn't hold water for me, so to speak. And now I'm just rambling and repeating myself. But once again, YMS, I haven't seen much of his stuff, but he did do a good job on that video. For those who want to watch it, just type in YMS Kimba. It's 2.5 hours long. But I'm just saying, it takes a couple people, higher ups, they watch a couple tapes, they just pick little points here and then make their own Hamlet-style story. And hell, you could say, Tezuka maybe did a similar thing, where Tezuka was a fan of Walt Disney, maybe at even one point met, or maybe not met, but was in some type of contact with Walt Disney. And you say Kimba was almost like his take on Bambi. Person who lost their parent. Bambi lost her parent here. Kimba lost his parent. So you go in any other directions you want. That's up to you. That's why you always think for yourself. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. Maybe I will still say Lion King ripped off Kimba just to piss people off. Or may I always say that because there could always be the possibility. Inspiration was taken, whatever, and because Disney got such a hissy fit with that, I'm like, well, fuck you, Disney. I don't like you anyways. I'll just say it to piss you off. Take that for what you will. But yeah, people who used the 1997 movie for their comparison, I don't know what the hell they were doing. That was very stupid. And what I thought, I'm like, no, I was talking about, I knew of the show. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.